Two RAM sticks, completely totally two RAM sticks. So if we take a look at this, we can see on the RAM, I have just unfolded the two sides. So now we're going to unfold this flap right here. So I'm going to keep the camera nice and down. Okay, now in 3, 2, 1, voila! That somehow didn't work. This is my totally not working test bench computer build. So let's get right to it. I can't wait to get this thing built. Alright, so as you can see, we've got a motherboard right here. This is a ATX motherboard, and we've got an LGA 775 CPU socket right here, which as you can tell is broken, including the retention latch. So, with 775 sockets, we can only fit Pentiums, I think Celerons and Xenons as well. So you cannot put an i3, an i7, or an i5 in there, or an i9. So, to install the CPU, as you can see on the edges, we've got two holes. There's one there, and there's one there, and there's also a triangle there. Now what you want to look out for on the actual socket is those two sticky out pointy things, which is that right there, and that right there, and then you also want to look out for that triangle. So, let's release the retention latch, pick up the CPU. I must remind you, or tell you even, do not touch the heatsink or the bottom, because if you touch them, you're going to have a bad day. So, like I said, you need to find the triangle, and you need to very gently place it in to the socket. Just like that. Now, you can just give it a little wiggle. Oops, I'm not controlling my camera right. And you can give it a little wiggle just to make sure it is in there. Nice and tight. So, lowering the retention latch. Now, when I say that this is broken, I see what you mean. It's broken. Yeah. It's broke. So, now that we've got the CPU inside the motherboard, what we need to do next is we need to install the cooler. Now, on most coolers out there, we have got pre-applied thermal paste, but because this is broken and it's old, there is no thermal paste. Now, depending on what cooler you want to go for, well, some coolers are incompatible with the socket type of the actual motherboard, so make sure you are compatible. Now, most of the time you are, but the next thing you want to worry about is before you place on the cooler on the CPU, you want to make sure that the wire for the power, is long enough to reach the header, which would normally surround the CPU socket, which you should find a 4-pin header with the word CPU_fan1 next to it. So once you've found that and the cable is the right length, what you want to do is you want to just slowly put it down, unlike me, and you want to grab the wire, and you see that the little white thing on the actual header, you want to link that up with the two wire straight things on the wire. I don't know why I said that twice. So you just want to lower it in nice and carefully, just like this, if I can get the right camera angle. Yay! It's in. Alright, so the next thing you want to install is the RAM. So let's get the RAM. Two RAM sticks. Completely, totally two RAM sticks. So if we take a look at this, we can see on the RAM, DDR2, 2 GB, so we've got two 1 GB sticks, and if we check the other one, as you can see, we have got 2400 MHz DDR2 RAM. So let's get them installed. Now, as you can tell on the RAM slots, we've got two notches, and depending on what motherboard you get, you need to install the RAM sticks in the correct order. So some motherboards have 8 RAM stick slots. Now, obviously, if you've got 8, then you've got a high-end motherboard. This isn't a high-end motherboard. So if you've got 4, then you need to consult your motherboard manual as to which slots you need to occupy. Because believe it or not, yeah, that matters. So, since I already know with this motherboard that the yellow slots are the ones we need to occupy, you need to pull these latches forward, or back in my case, and these ones back. And if you see the yellow notch on the actual slot, and you look on the RAM stick, as you can see, it is that little hole is slightly off-centered. Okay. It's slightly off-center. Now, that means that is a keyed PCB, which means you can only put it in one way. If you put it in the other way, you're going to break your motherboard. Sorry about that. Just like that. that wasn't a bad example. That was an example of what could happen if you don't install the RAM stick right. So, once you've got it nicely lined up, you just want to apply even pressure on both sides, unlike what I'm doing, because I can't. There we go. And there we go. And the same thing on the other side. Now, the next thing we're going to install is the power supply. So, I'm going to grab it. So, as you can tell, we've got a holy motherload of cables. So, the only two we really need for this build are the motherboard power cable, which would plug into that 20-pin cable. Now, mostly all motherboards come with a 24-pin cable, so that would attach both of these together. But since this doesn't need it, it doesn't need it. So, as you can see, we've got a black clip, and we've got a sort of latch on the actual socket, and we just want to install that, just like that. So it's nice and flush. Make sure it is nice and flush. The next thing you want then is this cable, which is a 4-pin cable. Now, some motherboards have an 8-pin cable, only on high-end motherboards. So you just want to put in that cable right there, like so. Now, same with the 24-pin cable, that has got a latch on it, as you can probably tell, just like that. See? Now, the next thing we're going to install is the graphics card. So if we grab my graphics card right here, this is an MSI GeForce GT 710, and as you can tell, we've got a PCB right here. Now that is inserted into the X16 slot, which is a PCIe slot. So you want to line them up just like so, and you want to install them as carefully and in line as possible, unlike me. And you just want to push it down. Well, yeah. So that is now installed. So the next thing you're going to install is your hard drive. So for your hard drive, depending if it's an IDE or SATA cable, which mine is an IDE, what we need to do is we need to look for this giant input on the motherboard. Now, this is an IDE motherboard, which means... Alright, so, since on the motherboard, you have 3 IDE inputs, which is basically those right there, or that one, and these two, you need an IDE cable, which is grey, so it's just like this one. So what you want to do is you want to find this part of the IDE cable, and you want to find the latch or the hole on the actual socket, and you just want to put it in nice and straight. And when I say straight, I mean properly straight, because there are pins, and you don't want to bend them. So once you got it in, you want to apply even pressure, and push it down, just like that. So the next thing you want to do is you want to grab your hard drive, and you want to pull this round, so that you can nicely plug it in. And you just want to look around for that hole, and you just want to push it in, just like so. And that is in. So that is the data cable. What you want to get next is the power cable, which is a Molex connector. So what you want to find is you want to find this connector right here, and unfortunately that won't reach, so we need to bring the hard drive around. So, because I'm a moron, I didn't think this through. So that is now correct, and we can now put in our Molex connector. So the Molex connectors have got like a little shape to them. So as you can see, it's slanted on the top side. So what you want to do is on the actual input, as you can see, I think it is slanted. Yeah, so that's slanted on the top. So you just want to get this, and you just want to plug it in just like this. And I can't do this one-handed. Alright, so that is now installed. So that is pretty much everything done for this testbed. So, I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like to show your support. And if you love, subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I've got left for today, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. See ya! This is a beautiful testbed.